everybody. My name is Gav Mack, and I'm here with Alex Osborn and Stephen Buck for 5 in Midfield. There we are. How are you, boys? You all right there?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm very well. Alex, what are you cooking in the background? Jesus.
What?
What are you cooking in the background, son? Bloody hell. Loads of noise. Anyway, we're here with the top fives. First this week will be Alex Osborn. Alex,
what's the top five, Gav? We need to let the people know.
I already said that.
Cool. Right, number 5.
You two worried about cooking in the background.
Number 5. Now
he can't eat nothing.
What's he going on? What's he doing? What's he talking about? Number 5. Gareth Barry was number 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because he is record ever Premier League appearance holder. Okay, and the majority of those Premier League appearances were played for Aston Villa. He had a testimonial for them, and he was their long-standing captain. Now, some may say that he wasn't necessarily successful as that Aston Villa captain, but I like to think of it at this point of view. Having been the record Premier League appearance holder, he has definitely been a successful player in that regard. Because otherwise, if he wasn't any good, then he surely would times. He'd go on to if he's with City. I know he didn't captain them as such, but he was very successful. And also during Aston Villa's probably better moments during the Premier League, that team there, which had a couple of other players like John Carew, Gabriel Bonlahor, Ashley Young, Stilian Petrov. That pretty decent Aston Villa side that were top 6 before top 6 was fashionable.
Yeah. Who's number 4?
Number 4, Mark Noble. It's a very similar vein to Gareth Barry. Again, and this is one thing that I did like as well that I appreciated. He is very much he's a one club man. He's been at West Ham his whole career, and they've getting consistently picked. I don't know whereabouts he appears in the Premier League record holders, but I imagine when all's said and done, as long as West Ham don't get relegated or anything like that, then I think he'll be certainly up there in terms of appearances as well. And he's their long-standing captain, takes their penalties.
Caps.
What's that?
Well, not now. Like it's too late now, but he deserved a cap for England. When we were looking for someone to do something like what he does. So,
I think he was overlooked though, wasn't he? Because really, as good as what he is for West Ham, he's not one of those fashionable players that look particularly good on a ball, look particularly good when you stick him into the media spotlight. But actually, for what he does, he's a very good player.
Mate,
very underrated.
Yeah, and he's always one of those names where another name might be more sexier than him, more flashier than him, but squads could do with players like him who are there to be a thorough professional. Something that potentially England just haven't had in their squads over the years. But as you say, England are past that now, unfortunately.
Who's
number 3 for me is Steve Bruce. So. The reason, another player who never got the recognition at international level as well, when really he should have done, but he was the captain of those early Man United years in the Premier League, and we all know how dominant they were earlier on. He formed a great partnership with Gary Pallister, forming that formidable line in front of Peter Schmeichel behind them, organised his defence, and I'm pretty certain in 1 year, I don't know if they were all Premier League goals, but he didn't get close to 20 goals in the season.
He did in the first year, the first Premier League year.
I mean, if a defender did that nowadays, he would be like talked to the moon. So I definitely feel like Steve Bruce certainly hasn't got the recognition that maybe he should have done in his career, and he's gone on to have a fairly decent managerial career as well, but he certainly was a great captain for that United side.
Number 2,
again, I'm going back to the Man United I'm going back to Gary Neville this time, very much towards the back end of his career, but again, that Man United side, okay, you could say that they had a numerous amount of captains, and Gary Neville was more sort of more of a figurehead, if you want to call it, because they had Vidic, they had Ferdinand, they had Evra, Rooney, Ronaldo, Giggs, all of those players. But Gary Neville was still the choice of captain at those times. And that Man United side, they won the Premier League. They won it, 2 or 3 seasons in a row. They won the Champions League. They beat out Chelsea, that good Chelsea side of the times as well. And he brought vital experience, having played numerous games at international level, formed that devastating partnership down the right-hand side with David Beckham. Everyone knows about that partnership that they formed. And he was just a good pro. I mean, I suppose you ask the youngsters of today, they just know him as the pundit who talks on Sky, who has the outrageous conversations with Jamie Carragher. But before that, he did forge out a pretty decent career for himself as a Man United right back.
And who's your number one?
Number one is Mr. Stevie G himself. One club, one captain.
Your number one is Steven Gerrard.
In the Premier League.
Oh my God.
Steven Gerrard, first and foremost, is one of the best English midfielders of all time. He could do it all. He could tackle, player. He could pass, he could shoot, and I know he never won, but the influence that he had on Liverpool at that time was so vast, and they really didn't.
Terrible at that time.
Yeah,
they won the Champions League in 2005. Right? Did they deserve to win that Champions League? Probably so. Did they do anything else? No, not really. No. They were terrible in the league. They scraped 5th. Everton came 4th.
A true captain and leader, Gav, isn't only measured by the trophies that he's won.
Exactly.
No,
because otherwise, if you were measuring on the amount of trophies that were won, then players like, I don't mean any disrespect to him, but like John O'Shea and Luke Chadwick, they're better players than Steven Gerrard, and that's just not the case.
Well, it's funny that you say John O'Shea, because my top 5. John O'Shea. No, that's banter. That is banter. It's not him. I swear to God.
I think the hair growth has gone through his head.
Number 5.
Steven Gerrard's definitely up there, but John O'Shea, mate. You're having a laugh.
It's not happening, mate.
Number 5 is Patrick Vieira, because how can you not have Patrick Vieira in any top 5? End of story. Midfield enforcer. He wore his heart on his sleeve. He would chop people. He would die for the cause. So he's got to be in everyone's top 5 as far as I'm concerned. Number 4. I've gone a bit left field with this one. I've gone with Tim Sherwood.
Oh, that is a bit left field.
Yeah, I think people forget how good Tim Sherwood actually was. Blackburn could have signed Zinedine Zidane, but they had Tim Sherwood. Obviously, their careers went down different paths and stuff. But at the time, what he did for that midfield for Blackburn, he was a true leader. A team that, should they have won the league that year? Should they not? Who knows? But they did, and he led by example. I thought it was brilliant, and on a very similar vein as to why I've gone with my number 3, Captain Wes Morgan, Jamaican international. That's the main reason.
So come on, talk to me about Wes Morgan.
Wes Morgan has been.
I'm not having that one as number 3, but come on, talk to me about it. Because if I look back on that side, at that Leicester side, the side that we're talking about is the one that gained promotion from the Championship. Obviously, they famed for winning the Premier League when they were 2,500 to 1 odds, and we all wish we'd have stuck a fiver on it when we didn't.
Mate, they came from League One. He became the captain in 2012. They came up from League One. They got to the Championship. They were unlucky one year. They ended up coming up, and there was that one season, obviously, where they didn't look too good, and then, manager sackings and stuff. And
But the success of that side wasn't really down to the captaincy, was it? That was really down to,
you
I
still
would
need to
say,
be a
the
rock. You still
leadership
need to be a
between
rock
the
at the back.
six. You do, but you need to bring an air of authority and cohesiveness. And I personally put that in that side down to the flair that they were getting from Mahrez and Vardy in terms of the goals. But actually, I look at Schmeichel in that side, and I think he's the one that gels that all together and becomes that leader in the pack. He hasn't got the
See,
armband, but
when you
he
say
was
about
that.
the cohesion and stuff, I felt that was coming from Wes Morgan, and he scored a couple of vital goals as well in that title winning year. And yeah, here's my number 3.
Okay, who's
Number
it to?
2, Jordan Henderson.
Oh,
Not having that.
mate, COVID has gone to your head. You're having a bit of
Jordan
Sherwood
Henderson.
love this week. We had it on Monday. We've got it again today. And now you've gone to Wes Morgan. We've let you have that one. Come on, right. Hendo over Stevie G.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Explain that one.
Because Stevie G was captain for Liverpool for a number of years. We all know this, but Liverpool were pretty
12 years. 12 years.
Yeah, they weren't that.
But you've gone for a man that's only been captain for 4.
No, yeah, there's reason behind it, and I think this season and the season where they just missed out on the title, proof as to what Jordan Henderson actually brings to that side.
That's more
Jordan
the
Henderson
team,
was
though.
missing for the last. Henderson was missing for the last 3 games of that unfortunate year. He is so key. He is the glue that holds Liverpool together, and that is why he is a worthy captain. I think he will go down in years to come as a true Liverpool legend. I think he should be wearing the captain's armband for England. When he's missing, he's not a very pretty player. A bit like with Mark Noble, he's not a very pretty player. He does everything right. When he's missing from the side, you know about it, whether it be his leadership or his skills in the middle of the park. Is very, very important to what Liverpool do, and I think that he is more important because Liverpool right now are world class.
I think he's important to the side because they need a shield to allow that front 3 to function really well. What we're talking about is he better than Stevie G? So let's just compare what we're saying here. Better as a captain than
At any
Stevie
point,
G.
did I say he is better? Steven Gerrard is one of the best players to ever play in an England shirt and a Liverpool shirt. Do I think he's a good captain? No, not really. Jordan Henderson, is he one of the best players to play for Liverpool? No, not really.
No.
Is he a good captain? 100%. So that's why I've gone with that. And number 1, King Company, mate.
That's a good shout.
I don't think that really needs much explanation.
No.
Vincent Kompany.
You've only got to look at Company over the last, even when Pep had him in the squad and was using him bit part towards getting those first few trophies in the cabinet for City under his reign. He was coming towards the end of his career. He was starting to feel perhaps the injuries and the age of the body, but he was still so influential. And I think didn't Sir Alex Ferguson try and sign him about 3 years or 4 years before he actually ended up at Manchester City because he thought he was that good.
Man, he was quality on like Football Manager and Pez and everything. I loved him. He's played CDM as well when he was at like Hamburg and that. Great player, great player.
Good player. Naturally, I like that one.
A true Premier League and football legend.
So I kind of agree. The only knock I'd have on him is just the injuries. They do. I know you could say, injuries is a bit unfair to him, but that is still an ability to have, is availability. So I don't know if I'd have him as the best captain of all time.
See, I think Company for me, I think he's encapsulated by what he did off the pitch as well. The influence that he had in that dressing room, the influence that he had around the club on the youngsters that were coming through, even when he wasn't playing, was just, it was quite something to behold for that Manchester City team. And I don't really think they've replaced the leadership qualities.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. Yeah. And it's borne out this season with what's happened so far.
Yep.
Yeah. Buck.
So, I've agreed with you for number 5. I've gone for a Patrick Vieira, a Gooner.
Sorry, can I just reintroduce you for a second? Tottenham Hotspur fan, Stephen Buck. You went with Gerrard, not Gerrard, sorry, Vieira, number 5. Okay.
Patrick Vieira,
I did, yes. Yes, I'm dreadfully sorry, Ledley
That's
King,
okay.
but yes, I picked Patrick Vieira over you.
That's okay.
Almost 300 games for Arsenal, 9 years at the club. The argument could be said about the fact that he only really spent 3 seasons as captain, but the influence that he had on that team, even before he got the armband, was very clear to see. Very influential on the way that club operated and the way that it played. And actually, he's probably been quite influential in terms of how other clubs looked at midfielders. He was probably one of the best box-to-box midfielders that we've seen grace the Premier League. So I have put him in there for all those reasons.
Winner, who's your number 4?
Number 4, Roy Keane. And I'll tell you why, because there's going to be a lot of Man United fans out there going, Roy Keane should be number 1. No. Great player, won a lot of trophies. I'm not denying that. But let's just kind of run through it. He got the captaincy in the 97-98 season and spent most of it injured. 98-99, all right, yeah, they won the treble, but he got himself booked in the semi-final and missed the final when they won the Champions League. 99-0-0, okay, a couple more trophies, but then it all went to pot. 2000, 2001, you had the 2 major incidents. You had the one where he called all the fans the Prawn Sandwich Brigade because they don't really know football and they don't know how to spell football and no one understands it. He followed that up with smashing through Alf-Inge Haaland and ending his career just because he didn't like the fact that he tackled him the year before and accused him of diving.
Boss.
He fell out with the club because he asked for a pay rise and the club gave him a pay rise and then told all the fans that they'd hike the ticket prices up because of Roy Keane. And that just kind of snowballed from there. The following season, they didn't win a single trophy. That is not the sign of a great captain. What he brought to that team on the pitch, yes. What he achieved in terms of his total career, yes. What he achieved and what he did as a captain that has responsibilities to his club, no. So
I'll also throw in as well the whole. I know this wasn't to do with the Premier League, but remember his old issues he caused on the international stage with the Republic of Ireland at the World Cup.
2002. Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate it. He's gone on record as saying that he felt as captain, it was his duty to say that the standards weren't good enough where they were. But at the same time, you can view that as him abandoning his team when they got to the World Cup. Where I thought, and I think a lot of people thought, that Republic of Ireland team was a fairly decent team, and they could have done all right at that World Cup. So. I certainly
that team was actually banging. It was though. Look at Irish teams that have made it to World Cups in 1990, 1994. The 2002 team.
Yeah, it was a much better side. It was a much better side. But 2002-94, football had moved on massively. They were never going to go and win the World Cup. They weren't.
No.
I mean, nowhere near it. But it was a much better side technically.
Well, it would have been their best chance since the 1990 World Cup when they got to the quarters, didn't they? Republic of Ireland, I believe, that when they got knocked out to Italy. But yeah, that 2002 that kind of soured a lot of people on Roy Keane. I don't think he ever really kind of recovered from that.
No, he didn't. His career went down from there. Oi, Bucky, what's your number 3?
Number 3, I've gone for a bit of an outsider for my number 3. So, Ian Ashbee. So, for those that don't know, he is
very interesting. I love him.
Hull City midfielder. So, Ian Ashbee is the only captain to have taken a club from League 2 to League 1 to the Championship and then into the Premier League whilst remaining captain the entire way through. He saw multiple changes in managerial structures, different changes in what was going on, made 243 appearances. The season when he got injured in the Premier League was the season Hull got sent down. And before they even got there, he actually had a degenerative disease in his bones, meaning some poor surgeon had to drill 14 holes in his shin bone just to make sure he could still walk. Yeah, this is a guy that led by example. So he makes my number 3.
Fair. Number 2.
Number 2, I've gone for the man that you can trust in the heart of defence, John Terry. Obviously, you can't trust him with your wife, but you can trust him at the back with a football. This is a guy that made over 500 appearances for Chelsea. is the most decorated captain in their history. When Mourinho gave him the captaincy, I think it was 05-06, they went on to win the title in record points, record numbers of goals scored, record numbers of goals not conceded. Yeah, this was a guy that led by example. You're talking about 5 Premier League titles, 4 FA Cups, 3 League Cups, a Champions League and a Europa League. You know, the man had silverware scattered everywhere and has done it throughout his entire career. But I still wouldn't trust him.
JT. As a player, I love JT. I don't like his off-field stuff. I don't like the way he looks at certain people with chocolate faces and stuff. But other than that, as a player, as a centre-half, you trust him 1,000,000%. Stephen Buck, the diehard Tottenham Hotspur fan, who's your number one?
My number one is actually Tony Adams. Which pains me so much as a Spurs fan to say I've got 2 Gooners in my top 5. What's going on with me? Never mind.
Tony Adams.
I mean, look, any Arsenal fan out there will tell you the same thing. This is a guy which is a legend at that club. And rightly so. He's the only person to have won a Premier League title in 3 separate decades.
Yeah.
He spent 22 seasons at Arsenal, spent the vast majority of it as captain, over 500 caps, 4 Premier League titles, and his whole behaviour on and off the pitch around teaching that other players and the youngsters around the club how to behave and how to aspire to be more and think of a winning mentality is fantastic. Yes, he had his issues for the pitch. We all know that. He's come out and he's dealt with those and he's probably still fighting some of those demons now. But as a player and as a leader and as a captain, none of the others even come close.
What a shout. Before we go, last week's show we did crazy hairstyles, and I just want to show everybody what Buck used to look like before. We'll explain that in the future. Tune in next Thursday for the the old top 5s on 5 midfield. Thank you, boys and girls. And
before you say goodbye, everyone, let us know what your top 5s would be. We would like to hear what you think as well, because without you guys, this show doesn't go.
Indeed. Nice one. See you later, boys.
See you guys. Bye.